don't know about up and going, but I'm up.
Oh, you're going well. You're going well. Looking good. You've had a shower. You've had a chance to get everything reset up. You're rolling.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I do foresee a nap in my future though. I
Do
do.
you now?
I do think that's going to be part of my day.
Well, you've
So,
had a big week. You've had a big week. So, yeah, we had a chance to go on a trip. You want to share that first?
oh, we did. We had a meeting out in the West Coast that we needed to go to, and so we've done something we've never done before, and we took the Amtrak. Took the Amtrak all the way out there and back, and it was interesting, and there were a couple downsides to it, but the views, yeah, I kid you not, you could not beat the views. It was beautiful going, especially now with snow up on the mountains and everything else. It was gorgeous, and the way home was a little different than the way out there. I don't know. I don't know what the difference was, if it was because of the different train or what, but it was quite a bit different on the way home, but it was good. We rolled in here about 2 o'clock this morning, and so yeah, the alarm went off, and believe me, I did not want to get up, but
Yeah, I understand with you right there. But you know what? It's so good to have the experience and to be able to share that for the rest of our lives with people and it was a learning experience, Rebecca.
it absolutely was.
Yes.
It
So
was.
that's our topic today. Why don't you kick that off? What are we talking about learning for? Why are we
Well,
talking about it?
we're going to do a little recap. Week one was awareness, becoming aware of the things that we do that maybe need to be changed or readjusted. So being aware of that. And then number two is making the commitment to make those changes. And number three is the learn. Number three is um, learning from those changes that we're doing. There's, I think, one of the things that we have to understand when we even do the awareness and the commitment. So part of the learn is learning why, the why behind the learn. you know um why is it that we need to think differently about some things, or why is it that we need to change our thinking on some things? And I think part of that goes back to some of the things that maybe we were taught, or some of the things that we believed from a long time ago maybe really wasn't correct,
Hmm.
or it wasn't we didn't do any research on it and find out. So learning, the process of learning.
Yeah. So just to finish up on the recap, one of the things that we're sharing with everybody is the 6 steps to personal growth. The 6 steps of personal growth and development. And step number 3 is the learning. As we were preparing for this morning and getting everything around and looking at everything, a lot of people, I believe, look at the learning as step number 1. I was thinking about that this morning in preparation. They think about the learning as step number 1. And there's a lot of mistakes that happen with that. And I've made those mistakes myself, which is why we put this whole system together. The reason that we put these 6 phases, these 6 steps together, is because we need to reevaluate the learning process. And we have become a society that is so ingrained in our educational system of belief that if we learn something, we're growing. And that's the belief that we have in our society. And in fact, I've seen that even come in from a global perspective. And the challenge with that is we may be learning something that does absolutely nothing for our personal growth, doesn't do anything for us to help us improve, especially in today's world where we have so much noise around us. We have so much social media. We have so much stuff around us. And I hear people say, oh, well, I don't read a book, but what I do is, I'll jump onto this TikTok channel, and they've got such amazing stuff on this TikTok channel, or they've just got this really cool stuff, and they got, oh, I can just learn so much when I go there. And I'm like, what are you learning? Well, I got this and this. Oh, well, I'm like, what specifically are you learning, and why are you learning it? And that's one of the questions that I've had to ask myself. When I pick up a book and read it, why do I want to read that book? If I go to a channel and watch it, why do I want to watch that channel? If I want to see a video, why do I want to watch that video? What is in that content that's going to help me grow to a new level? That's going to take me to where I need to go. And that's one of the questions that we're not asking near enough. And that's why we have the first two steps, which is awareness and commitment, so that when we are aware of something that we need to change, something that we need to improve, we make a commitment to that thing, and then we learn it. Then we go out and we pursue the right teachers. You want to have the right people around you when you're bringing in the opportunity to learn something. Bring in the right people around you. And then you want to bring in other components, the right content style, the right components of what you're going to learn with. And then surround yourself with just that content that you are committed to, and that you're changing, you're making improvements on the things that you're aware of, that you're specifically aware of. Now what you've done is you've concentrated your time. Your time is concentrated on one specific place of learning, one specific level of content. And that's what we have to think about when we're learning. Just to learn for learning's sake doesn't do you any good at all. And it doesn't do society any good. It doesn't do all these other people any good. So those are the things that we have to really think about: is what are we learning? Why are we learning it?
Yeah. And it's kind of how we learn it. I mean, everybody learns differently.
Yep,
Everybody learns in a different way, whether it's reading or watching a video or
hmm,
talking it through. It's just, but just making that commitment to learn is is a big step.
absolutely, absolutely. You know, in the world that we're in, we talk a lot about leadership. We talk a lot about business. We talk about business structure. Those are really the things that we talk about. Leadership and business structure. Those are two big things that we're learning. And I know, Rebecca, you sometimes you'll jump in the vehicle and I've got this podcast going, or I've got this audio book going, and I think there's probably times when you're like, oh, are we listening to this again? But it's the concentrated learning that I've noticed has really helped me. And if there's one core topic in leadership, and if I can really hone in around that over a short period of time, a short period of time might be 2 weeks, and I can really hone in on that, I can start to grow, pretty fast. And the how I'm learning, that may come in through podcasts, might come in from an audio book, a physical book that we're reading. It might come in from a lot of different resources, but if there's something specific, I'm honing in on that for a couple of weeks.
You know, and I'm not going to throw you under the bus here, but
I like how you do that. I'm not going to, but
you say a lot of stuff when we're in the vehicle together, and
we do.
it is, and you tell me a lot of things, and I do. I learn some things from you, and it's amazing because sometimes when you're talking, it's just like, oh my goodness, is there an ending to this? Is there an ending to this? But then
Really?
it might be, I'm being transparent here, but it might be 6 months down the road and somebody will say something and it'll kind of turn on a light bulb in there. And and I'll go, oh yeah, we talked about this. We talked about this. And I remember hearing about this. And it's kind of strange how it works because it's things that maybe I don't think about in the forefront of my mind very often, but I could be talking with somebody down the road and I'll be like, oh, light bulb moment. So I appreciate that. I have to tell you, sometimes I may not be completely engaged, but I do appreciate it. And because learning different things it's not hard. It's just I always told myself I couldn't ever learn anything new, especially at my age now and things like that. I'm like, I just, learning something new right now is so difficult.
Mm,
It's almost like trying to fit something else in my head, which is kind of true. And I just need to remove some of the other stuff out of there and make room for it. But you can always learn something new. I don't care how old you are. I love listening to the one thing that talks about, Colonel Sanders. How old was he when he got the seasoning correct for the KFC, and some of those other people that were over 50 years old when they started figuring out a lot of this stuff. So, you look at the times that we live in and people that have made the career changes and have got out of what they've done for years and are now doing something completely different. And it's pretty cool to watch.
yeah,
If that all makes sense. That was kind of a babble on, but don't mind me. But
yeah. No,
there's a lot of
there's a lot of truth to that, Rebecca, and it's one of those things that, you know, when you think about, well, people like Colonel Sanders, he was in his 60s. I believe he was 65 when he started figuring all this stuff out. But all the years before that, what was he learning? And how much could he have taken in earlier had he had, a specific focus in a specific area? And that's one of the things that I know we miss out on as human beings. We don't get focused in on something. We don't get committed to something. We're not fully aware of what these things are in our lives that we need to change. And then we miss so much of it. And we look back when we're in our 50s and we're in our 60s, and it's never too late. Just like you said, it's never too late. But we look back on it and go, "Oh, I wish I would have." And I see that all the time. And one of the things that I see missing in most organizations today, because we'll talk a lot about, building within an organization, is the development of the people. We see people studying AI all the time. This is the big rave right now out here in the marketplace is AI, right? People are talking about AI, they're talking about this, they're talking about that, some kind of technology, there's things that are going to change the world. We're stuck on politics, we're stuck on all these different things. When are we going to get stuck on developing the people to be all that they can be, to love them enough that we're going to say, hey, let's develop you to be amazing. Maybe or maybe not. You may or may not work with AI. You may or may not be on a certain political party, but I want you to be amazing. I want you to be so amazingly successful that I could never compete with that. And I want to help you. I want to help you get to that level and just grow your interpersonal skills, grow your interdependence ability with other people, grow you to become amazing. What if we started to see more and more of that within the organizations that we work in, and we started to just see more and more people grow and improve every single day with the gifts and skills that God gave them internally, not necessarily just the job to get not the skills to get the job done, but the skills of who they are, the skills of developing who they are in here so that they can go out to the world and truly, truly, truly make an impact. Can you
yeah.
imagine that?
Wouldn't that be pretty awesome?
It'd be amazing. And the thing is, it's all right here in front of us, right? It's all right here in front of us. It's all available to us. But yet we listen so much to the noise out here in the world that AI is supposed to be what I'm talking about. And oh, if I don't believe a specific way to a political party, that I'm wrong. It's just not true. And we get so distracted by so many things when the greatest thing that we can be learning is how to be a better me, how to be a better people, how to be a better person, how to be just better at connecting and loving and caring for people. That makes all the difference in the world. That's the
You
part
know,
that changes things.
and there is so much truth to that, but I will say, um, where that has to start, where you're changing things, and I think I want to say everybody suffers from that, but I know some people maybe a little bit more than others, but it's here because you talk about being able to go in out and giving that to other people, but what do we always talk about? You got to be good yourself
Mhm.
before you can give that to other people. So some of those things that you become aware of and make the commitment to work on, I think it needs to start here first.
Mhm.
Um, the beliefs that you have about yourself and the things that you're capable of and the things that you can do. And, so many people, when they talk about maybe growing or growing their business, believe that they can get here.
Mhm.
They never ever get that belief that they can get up here. They have the belief that I'm sure I can get to this point, but I probably won't go any further. Um, I know that guy over there did, but he had this and he had this. And no, you've got to build up that belief in yourself and the things of who you are and what you are capable of. Because if you can't do that for yourself, you can't go out and do that for anyone else.
Yeah. And Rebecca, that's the thing that I probably see more than anything else is in that space of learning is learning how to believe in ourselves, right? Having that awareness that there are things that I don't believe in about me. How often do we talk, Rebecca, about self-image? And
Hmm.
what do you say to yourself when you look in the mirror? I had this conversation over the weekend with a couple of different guys that are at the meeting we were at, and I was talking with one guy, and I asked him, I said, when you look in the mirror and you look at that person and you see him standing there before you, what are the words you say to him? What are the words that he says to you? That person in the mirror is the most important person to be aware of, to make commitments to learn, to improve, to grow. When that person in the mirror starts to grow and expand, John Maxwell will say it this way: you cannot be bigger on the outside, which means you can't go out there to the marketplace. You can't go out there to your business. You can't go out there to your family, to your church, to any organization. You cannot go out there and be big, be super successful, be over the top, a game changer, unless you're bigger in here first. Because if you don't get bigger in here in how you're seeing and growing this person in the mirror, there's no way that that person's going to be able to go out and change that marketplace and be able to handle something really, really big out there. And we see this over and over and over and over and over again. We see it everywhere, Rebecca, and it's not intentional. People are not intentionally destroying their businesses. They're not intentionally going backwards. They're not intentionally doing this, but what they are unintentionally doing, they're unintentionally looking in the mirror and saying the wrong things to themselves, right? They
Yeah.
unintentionally say things that is destroying them on the inside, not growing them on the inside. And that's such a massive, massive change that we need to make because that's probably the most important thing that you got to learn how to do is to grow that person in the mirror.
Well, and we're talking about learning, and it is something that you have to learn.
Yeah.
It, comparison, if you're comparing yourself, you have to learn that I'm not them and
Yep.
they're not. They have their own road and I have mine, and I need to figure out how to do it. And it is a learn, and it's something, it's hard, especially, I don't want to say especially since you've been doing it for so long, but it is hard. It's something that you have to to readjust your entire thinking on.
Yep.
And yeah,
Yep.
so it's, the learn is, it's a big part of the change that you have to make in your life.
It is.
And like I said, a lot of that is going to start here first before you can put it out to others.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it has to start there. And if we're not starting there, Rebecca, um, there's very little reason to go out and try to do all these other things,
yeah,
and that's such a major part of it. So,
yeah.
well, let's think about the next 7 minutes. We've got to start wrapping things up, and this learning phase of the 6 steps, I believe, is a critical step, a step that is really important and cannot be missed. If you take this one step out of the 6 steps, you don't have anything left, because the rest of it crumbles.
You
So,
know, sorry.
no,
One
go
thing
ahead.
with this on the learn, it's not something that comes easy.
Or
So,
natural.
my C personality comes out a lot in this because you have to plan. Just like, I don't know how many times we've talked about the eating healthy route. For me, if I don't have the plan made, um, then I have a hard time sticking to it, especially at the beginning, because then it's like, oh, well, nothing's thought out, or I didn't go to the store, or, something. And so it throws a curveball at it. Same thing with working with yourself in the mirror. If you have to write down on a piece of paper, I need to tell myself 10 times tomorrow morning that I am a wonderful person, that I'm loved, that if you have to write that down, write it down, because it is, sometimes I'll go through the day and I'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell myself this morning that I'm great, that I'm a wonderful person. And so write it down. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that I would tell people is get some Post-its, put it on your mirror in the bathroom, and look up at it every morning and tell yourself, look in that mirror and say, I love you.
Mm.
You're worth it. You're loved. And go about your day. But it's with anything that you're learning. You have to do the work, which is going to bring in next week's topic. But so the
So,
learn.
so Rebecca, we think about learning as education. What is the original Latin word for education? Do you remember it?
I do go
Educo. Educo. And what does it mean?
drawing from within.
To draw out from
See, I
within.
listen. I
Yes, I
listen.
love it. I love it. To draw out from within. Education, the root of education starts by drawing out what is already within. And that is what education comes from. Can you imagine if everybody that we worked with, everybody that we learned from, was focused on one thing? Number one, starting with, who are you? And how can we expand that? How can we expand, educo, educate, draw out your greatness and grow it? Draw out of you your giftedness, your skill, your God ingrained being. Just to draw that out, become aware of it and grow it. That, just imagine how our education system would change, how the future of our society would change if our whole education system was focused on drawing out the gifts and the skills instead of trying to push in. The education system tries to push knowledge in when we should be trying to draw out the greatness that's already within. And that would change everything. That would
Yeah.
change so many things in society today. And it would completely change the way people respond to each other, the way people act to each other, the way they treat each other would
Yep.
completely change everything. So, well, Rebecca, we've had a long week and we're getting ready to wrap up towards the top of the hour. What is coming up next week on this?
Next week is the implement.
Yes.
Next week is implement. So we have awareness, becoming aware, making the commitment to changing, learning how and what needs to be changed. And like we said, you got to start with you first
Hmm.
and then implement. You got to take that stuff and use it. It's kind of it's what I tell people with when we do business and personal coaching and development. We can provide the tools all day long.
Yep.
We can help you, we can walk through things, we can talk through things, but you have to do the work. You
Yeah.
have to implement it. You have to make it work. And sometimes it is hard. Sometimes it's hard to you got to make maybe some other changes to implement the things that you need to do new.
Yeah.
And so,
It is, the things that we do are not easy. And that's the truth of the matter. It shouldn't be easy. It should be the challenge that we need, exactly the right challenge that we need to take us to that next level. So next week, implementation. This is one that we all love, but do we really? We say we want it, but do we really? Do we implement the right things? Or do we do the things that we like to do the most versus the things that we should do the most? There's a big difference. And that's
yeah.
something that we have to really think about is what are we implementing? Why are we implementing it? And it follows right along with this learning element. And that gives us, what the next layer is in our personal growth plan. I do want to end with this. While we were talking this morning, our our mentor, one of the greatest earthly mentors that we have, is John Maxwell. And I know he's been a mentor to so many different people on here. But if you know John Maxwell's story, you know that he was asked by a gentleman in a hotel in a Holiday Inn when he was in his 20s. He was asked by a gentleman that he highly respected, and he was so embarrassed when this guy said, "John, what is your personal growth plan?" And John didn't have an answer. He stumbled around and stumbled around. He finally come to the point where he just says, "I don't have one." And that completely changed everything for him. And he said, if you don't have a personal growth plan, then you have no guarantee that tomorrow will be better than today. And as we were talking about this thing called learning, when John made that commitment to join a personal growth program at that stage in his life, everything changed for him. Everything changed for him. And that was the start of his journey. And when he started down that road of personal growth and development, he thought he might go about 5 years into it and then he'd have everything that he needed for the rest of his life. It's now been 50 plus years that he has focused on growing and developing himself personally. And when I say personally, the things that make John Maxwell grow, those are the things, not John Maxwell's company, John Maxwell. He focuses on the things that grows John Maxwell. And when he started doing that, he got about 3 to 4 years into it. And he said, I don't want to stop this in 5 years. I want to see just how far it will go. I want to see just how much there is in me. And now, 50 years later, when John has written over 90 some books, he's a world famous, not only just a world famous author, but a speaker. He is the highest paid non celebrity speaker in the world today. And he speaks to Fortune 10 companies, like Fortune 50 companies, all the time. He's in front of some of the greatest and best leaders in the history of the world. And the reason why is because he focused on growing himself so that he could give so much more to the world.
Yep.
And that's what we have to really focus in on. So these 6 steps of personal growth and development are all about that. They're
Well,
all
and it
about jumping in and growing to do something great.
you kind of, I mean, so putting it back to an analogy is, if you become aware that, hey, I want to be a chef, you can't just say it and go open up a can of soup and throw it in a pan and go, now I'm a chef. You've got to learn how to do it. You've got to learn what foods complement each other and how things are cooked and there's a lot that goes into it. So when you want to make those changes, you can't just say, "Hey, I want to do this." You got to put the work into it. You got to learn. You got to sit down and figure it out. You got to read the books. You got to read the manuals. I mean, there's things that you have to do. But if you are determined that those are the things that you want to change, you will. There's nothing that can stop you from doing it.
You bring up an interesting example there, because if you want to be a chef and you want to learn to be a chef, that is a what you do component. That's not a who you are component. And the thing that we should probably do some more training on this and maybe put out some posts on this so that people can see it. If you decide that you want to be a chef or you want to be a specific person for a specific reason, you don't just learn that task. You learn who you are that's delivering that task. That is the most important thing, because if you're going to be a world-class chef, you have to be able to sell yourself. You have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to do all the things that happen in here. You got to do the hard work of growing this person to become a world-class chef. If you just want to learn how to grill steaks and make a great meal in your kitchen, you don't have to do anything with this person here. But if you want to do something great with this love that you have, this love for a what you do component, you got to grow this person, because this person's going to be what takes it out to the world and makes a difference.
Yep. Yep.
So, all right, let's wrap that up and
Right.
we'll
Went a
be,
little over, but so
yep,
next week, implement.
sounds awesome.
And yeah, everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. We won't probably talk to you before then, so hopefully you can enjoy some time with your family or even just sitting at home relaxing for a day. So
Yep, sounds good. All right,
see
see
y'all.
y'all. Make it awesome.